to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is a very special day. What I like to do is I like to go through and do pick a pile readings. I go through and I, celebrate a certain day. Today's theme is going to be National Superhero Day, and I'm really excited for that. I thought that would be a fun theme. And what I did today is I'm actually wearing a t-shirt of my favorite superhero, and that's Batgirl. I've always loved Batgirl. I always loved the original 1960s series of Batman. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I grew up with a lot of Nick at Night, and I really loved Yvonne Craig. I just felt like she was the best Batgirl, and I always loved the way that kind of in the 60s, there was a lot of girl power. Mary Tyler Moore and Yvonne Craig. What I loved about that Batgirl was just that she really, by day she was a librarian, and by night she was a superhero, and she had like the motorbike and her own apartment. And I also love the way that she always seemed to solve crimes and solve problems by referring to books. So I just thought that was wonderful. I feel like that's just such a empowering influence. So I am definitely wearing my shirt in representation. I did also want to do kind of a special superhero theme because, with the events going on in the world, I know a lot of healthcare workers, they are superheroes every single day. And so I just thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do. And as you can see, I got a special tablecloth. There is, I call it my onomatopoeia, which is the Greek Latin word that means that when you look at Batman, especially like the 1960s Batman, when they would fight, it was always, biff, sock, wham, boom, and in Latin that's called onomatopoeia, which means a word that it's like the phonic spelling of a sound or an action. So, in case you didn't know, but I went ahead and I got the special tablecloth for that purpose. So I'm excited to bring it out today. Now, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've pre-shuffled and I've pulled cards. I pulled from 3 different decks. The decks are listed in the description box below, and what they are the Archetype cards by Myss, the Soul's Journey lesson cards by James Praagh, and the third one is the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. So I went ahead and I pre-shuffled. I will go ahead and let you choose from one onomatopoeia. I'll choose one expression, and so I'll let you choose. We actually have 6 piles today, which is kind of a lot. The cards that I have is, one card is going to explain what your strength is. I'm going to use it in a Superman term, which is what is the power that you get from a yellow sun. And then the second card is going to talk about your weaknesses. So that's going to be kind of your kryptonite. And then we're going to have 2 clarifiers. We're going to have one Wisdom of the Oracle card and one Your Soul's Journey card, just to help clarify both the strength and the weakness. So it's going to be about 5 cards. A few of the piles got more than 1 card, so we'll definitely read it as it goes. And I'm so excited. We're going to ask the cards today, what's your superpower? I will not delay any longer. I'll go ahead and let you choose your expression. I do ask that you choose from your intuition or whatever action you would take. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So our first pile, we got CRUNCK. CRUNCK. I love these. These are actually stickers that I found online, so I was so grateful when they came in. And I've said before, I've done pick-a-piles, PAPs, I've done PAPs, PAPs, and it's funny, I always get so excited because normally I'm shuffling from a deck and I'll say deck 1, deck 2, and here I get to go, okay, what's my BIFF people, what's my POW people? So I had a lot of fun with it. I always enjoy these readings. But enough blabbing. I'll go ahead and get started. So our crunk pile, what is your strength? What is your power? Oh, you got queen. Oh, wow. And then let's go ahead and you actually got two. You got two for kryptonite for your weakness. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, and then you got one and you got wow. Oh gosh, guys. You got two Wisdom of the Oracle cards. Okay, so to get started, your superpower is Queen. And wow, guys, look how regal that is. Radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. Wow, that's crazy. That's cool. Just to throw it out there right off the bat, I'm getting a lot of Leo energy. We're talking about energy from the sun, and I'm getting a lot of Leo energy. So I think that your superpower is that you are a regal feminine. You're a leader. Honestly, the vibe that I get from that is really like. I love the artwork in this deck too, because you can see she's so regal. She just sits and she observes and she makes decisions. I think your strength is that you are a good leader. I think that you make you know how to exude your feminine power. And honestly, that's kind of a rare thing, in this day and age when a lot of people are feeling kind of, not everyone has the strongest self-esteem. And I feel like your self-esteem is very strong, and that's again part of your superpower. Now, and again in this reading, I am talking about strengths and weaknesses. So we're going to move on to your kryptonite here. Please don't incinerate the messenger. Don't hit me with laser beam eyes or anything, okay? But this is really amazing. But you got, as for your kryptonite, for your weaknesses, you got both Messiah and God. And right now, and again, we'll just go ahead and we'll read the shadow attributes. And again, this is not negative. This is what undermines your superpower. Exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed, and despotism and cruelty, using power to control people. And again, don't be upset. We're going to read this the way that it is. And Stan Lee even says, with great power comes great responsibility. So we'll put that out there. Anytime you're a strong leader, and again, this could be perceptional. This doesn't have to be like the honest to Zeus truth, right? But what it is that anytime you come across a strong person, sometimes it can seem a little people who come across a strong person, especially a strong woman, might be intimidated by that. You might come across a little too strong. In this day and age, and a little while ago I was talking about Batgirl, and I was talking about how in the 60s there was a lot of girl power. There was Mary Tyler Moore being self-reliant. There's really a saying, and and not to make this about the genders. You can be a male watching this video and this can pertain to you. But anytime you come across as strong, isn't it kind of funny how if you talk about a strong man, there's almost like a duality to it. If you say a man is strong, then he's a leader. But if you see a woman who's strong, she's a tyrant or a drama queen. You know what I mean? Sometimes there is a little bit of a double standard there. But again, you can be male or female watching this reading, but basically your superpower is that you have that strength. You have the ability to lead, and you do not shy away or step down. You don't dim to fit in. There you go. You don't dim to fit in. You're gonna put your shine on, right? But the only thing is, your kryptonite is that try not to get too far into that power. Sometimes when you're at your apex, you can shine real bright, But again, with great strength, strength comes great responsibility. You do want to think whether or not something is getting out of control, or maybe that something is becoming overpowering to someone. And you don't have to dim to fit in. No one has to do that, because that's your superpower, and that's something that is yours, and shine on, right? But just definitely try not to let it get out of control, or try not to get too in your head. And we've all been there. We've all had moments where we get a little too full of ourselves. So you keep that in check. Avoid your kryptonite. You're good to go. So the other card that you got is honesty. And I really love the way that this kind of shines, and the way this is kind of golden. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. And then you got tribe, and the tribe, and you got here and now. And what that tells me is that I think you really do hold yourself to a higher standard. That's the other thing about queens, is when you look at them, they really do. They're a cut above. There's a level there. There's a level, the way that you hold yourself. And it's funny, sometimes you might have expectations, that the same expectations that you hold of yourself, you might hold of other people, or possibly, and if we're taking into consideration the kryptonite side, maybe there might be a few double standards there. Maybe there are a few expectations that you hold of other people that you don't, you definitely don't want to cross the line into hypocrisy, right? But here I do get a sense that you're very truthful. If you see something, or the standards that you exude or you express, you expect from other people. And here, what I see with the tribe and the here and now is that it's kind of telling me two things. First off, queens really kind of stand alone. They're their own entity, right? You do what they tell you to do, right? And sometimes when you're in that all-encompassing energy, you can be very self-sufficient. But the tribe is kind of telling you that maybe there are times that you do want to take into consideration the opinions of others, and that will only make you stronger, right? If you cooperate, if you have that good balance, and to put the astrologer hat on for a moment, the opposite of Leo is Aquarius. And Aquarius is that, I saw a great reader here on YouTube that referred to Aquarius as the well-oiled machine of society. And oh my gosh, if that doesn't just sum it up. Because Aquarius is about the collective. It's about everyone working together. It's about that unification. It is about the gears of the group, of the needs of all, right? And the two being opposite on the astrological spectrum, they feed into each other. The leader, the sense of self amongst the many, and then the many that feed into the sense of self. So here, I think it really is telling you to keep that conduit going. The other thing that it's telling me is that with here and now, there's a Zen principle of remaining in the present. And it just basically means don't get too far ahead of yourself, which is an Aquarian concept. Don't be thinking too far in the future, but also don't be holding on to the sins of the past. Just stay in the present. Stay in the present. And again, it's not telling you to compromise any of your morals, because that's your strength, right? That's your superpower. Is that the other thing is that I think that when you lead by example, when you exhibit strong principles and strong scruples, other people will follow that. You are an example, right? You're an example to your tribe. But it is also saying that, try not to get too fragmented by thinking too far in the future, or worrying about what's happened in the past. It really kind of wants you to stay in the present, and definitely keep a good balance between, the many and yourself. So that's your superpower, guys. That's really cool. I like that. So that was our crunks. That's kind of a weird expression. I actually looked up some of these, but Okay, and then the next one we got BIFF. Oh, this is a fun one. This is one that I do definitely remember from that old school 1960s Batman. You know, you would see him go BIFF sock. You know, pow, pow. So let's go ahead and see what is for our BIFF people. What is your superpower? So, guys, oh wow. So, for your strength, you got lover. Oh, wow, that's great. Great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something. I also read that card a lot as passion, but we'll get into that in a minute. And then let's go ahead and let's see here. The other card, and you got two, you actually got two of them. And the second card you got is Father. Oh, wow. A talent for creating and supporting life, positive guiding light within a tribal unit. That's cool. So those two go together. And then you got Death. I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. And you got Mending. And for your kryptonite, you got Avenger, which is resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Got you. All right. So this is cool, guys. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first off, your strength. Your strength is that great passion and devotion, and a talent for creating and supporting life. So I think that you are a motivating person. I think your superpower is that you have the power to motivate. When you care about a cause, when you get excited about something, you really put your all into it. And I think what it is I think you have a very strong ability to, like a father, like a patriarch, you encourage other people to be excited about the same things. Either that or you're a very strong teacher. And I am getting a masculine vibe. Like I'm getting I'm getting a yang kind of energy. Like it's not receptive like the mother. I think you guide people. And I really do. I love this image. This image is so beautiful. The other thing is that I think that you guide people in a very fatherly way. And what I think is beautiful about the father image, or I really do think about I think more of I don't think of a soft energy. I think, and fathers are not tough, but they're guiding, right? They have, I noticed that fathers, they have a structure. They give structure to a family. And what they do is that, they're not always receptive. They can be a little tough sometimes. Like if somebody is veering the wrong direction, a father really kind of very, and again, in a structured way, kind of veers you back on track. So I do think that you are that type of person. I am getting a strong teacher vibe, but it's really more in a family kind of context. And family can be a lot of things. It can be, and again, when it says a tribal unit, it can be a real family, it can be a work family, it can be a friend's family. But I do think that what it is that when you maybe in your group, either your friendships or your family, people look up to what you do, because you really, if you go out to do something, you can really guide people and kind of channel people towards the same goals, or show them the way of how things should be done. The other thing is that I am getting kind of that patriarchal vibe of, where you might be the leader of your family. Either that, or you might be a male figure in your family, where you also exhibit the values of your tribe. And it's an important role, right? It's an important role. So the card that you got, the kryptonite card that you got, so the weakness of this is you got Avenger, which is resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Now, I'm not reading this as violent. Like, I don't think that you would take, it's not like, biff, bam, pow, But I do think what it would be is that I think because you are so strong and you are so governing with your energies, when this is in its positive expression. It's very, it's encouraging. What's the word I'm looking for? It's more than encouraging. It's you're an influencer, right? You're an influencer and you're a strong one and you're a leader. So it's kind of like, because when you look at fathers, when do you ever question your father? If your father says this is the way that we're supposed to be doing things, well, the family follows suit. So what I'm seeing is that when I see Avenger, and there you go, Avengers, I do see that maybe, one thing that I think of when I think of Avengers, anytime you watch these action movies, it's funny that anytime something endangers the world, it always seems to, the shakedown always seems to take place in a downtown metropolitan city. And when you look at that from a safety standpoint and from a security standpoint, you would think, okay, we need to move this out into the desert, or we need to move this altercation to a place where 1.3 million people do not live. And what I'm seeing here is I'm kind of getting that kind of idiosyncrasy. Like if you are passionate about your goals and people don't agree with it, you're not afraid to kind of, break everything down in order to get your agenda done, right? So it is, and I think I'm going to quote this every pile, but as I said in the last pile, just like Stan Lee says, with great power comes great responsibility. You have the ability to influence. You really, you channel people towards your perception, and you have to be careful with that power, because you can really break people down, right? Remember how we said what dad says goes, right? So you don't want to be, the kryptonite would be that if it's not going your way, maybe you might not think twice about breaking down either other people's goals or, kind of causing more chaos in order to get what you believe across, right? But underneath we got death, which is I am learning that endings are merely beginnings. And I love how it's the same color as the lover. And again, the lover is more like passion. And the death card in tarot really means metamorphoses, right? It does mean the ending of one thing so another thing can be born. So I do think that this is kind of a parallel between your strengths and your weaknesses. Sometimes you do have to let go. And when you think about it, when you're a father, imagine if your child is not, imagine that, you want your child to go to a certain college and they want to go to the complete rival school. Or, you wanted them to go into a certain career and they're completely bucking your authority. You want to kind of look at that as a kind of a compromise, right? And that's what kind of the death card is. It means that, sometimes what you bring and the passion that you have for your goals really does structure your family. But there will be times when you've got to compromise. You can't just, destroy downtown because, the aliens are invading, right? You do have to kind of accept the death of some of your ideas and know that, this is your family, this is your tribe. If they're not doing things your way, there's a reason, and you might learn something from that change. But just also know that what you've contributed, your beliefs really did create the foundation of everyone around you. So don't feel like it was for nothing, right? You don't have to break everything down and destroy everything just because it's not going your way. Just give the ideas that are accepted and try to let go of the ones that aren't. And then everyone will have the metamorphosis that they're meant to have, right? Things will turn out the way that they're supposed to turn out. And there you go. We've got the last card, which is mending. It's number 52. I'm sorry, last pile. I'll be more mindful of the numbers. But yeah, it really is, again, I do get that scenario of like, if just about every movie that you've ever seen, anytime there's a real strict father, you know, being cracking down even more is not going to make anybody cave to what you want them to do, right? And just because you're flexible does not mean that you're being weak either, right? You don't have to break anybody down in order to get your point across. You can do it in a very mending way. And when I see mending in this context, I almost think like, you see how it's like a bridge. It's a bridge between the two people. I do think that you both come out stronger when you accept. And the other thing is, this is a real scorpion energy too. I'm getting a strong, with the reds and the mending. I think that I think you also go through a lot of, you've probably been through a lot of changes in your life. There's probably been many times that you've had to reinvent yourself. So that's another thing that's a real strength for you. And by mending these things, the other thing that I also see is that maybe you could have been in an environment that was very dogmatic growing up. Maybe you had a parent who was very passionate about their beliefs and wanted you to be the same way. And you did have to go through kind of a death and really kind of buck against that. But maybe now you're coming to terms with that. You've accepted that. You've again accepted the values that you wanted to accept, but then kept to your own beliefs as well. But wow, guys, that's very strong. So that's your superpower. All right, I'm almost losing my. I almost didn't find it It's blending into the background. Okay, so the next one we got KA-POW. Let's see, what's the superpower for my KA-POW people? All right, so for KA-POW we got your strength. You got heroine. Oh my gosh, that's so great. And it's orange. Look at that. Oh my gosh, synchronicity alert. And then the kryptonite, you got martyr. Oh my gosh. And then you got love, and you got treasure island. Oh, that's amazing, guys. So what I'm seeing here is that the light attribute, passion for a journey of personal empowerment. And then your kryptonite, you got addiction to self-pity. Okay. So what I'm seeing right off the cuff is that I really get the feeling like you probably had to adapt a lot in your life. I think that you are not afraid of the journey, right? Again, and KA-POW is kind of a very animated. I know all of these are very, very strong, but KA-POW is kind of like not being afraid to jump right into something, right? So I do think that your superpower is that it's a lot of people take it for granted, but it's a great benefit. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking right. It's a great attribute to be in life for the journey, right? They always say, I know it's very cliche, but it's not the destination, it's the journey, right? And you're not afraid of the journey. You're not afraid of the journey. And a lot of people are. A lot of people are afraid. They, sometimes, people just want to stick to the status quo, and, climbing mountains is a little intimidating. But you're not afraid to go out into the world and see, to take the chances and to explore and to go new places and to do new things. Now, the kryptonite that I see from this is that you got martyr. And again, you see that this person has like little hearts around them, and he looks like he looks like he's being kind of pulled up by forces outside of his control. And it's addiction to self-pity. So maybe it is a situation where, you've gone out into the world and you've had some good times, but then you've had some not so good times. Sometimes when you are an explorer, when you are someone who's not afraid to go out and try new things, sometimes that causes a lot of trial and error. Life is not always easy. Life is not always fair. What if you went out and had some kind of lows in your life, or maybe you made some decisions that didn't turn out the way that you expected them. Then, the kryptonite of that would be like, well, I tried my best and it didn't work out, woe is me. So the kryptonite side would be that, you definitely want to try to stay in the attitude of, experience. Try to go with the flow. Try to say, okay, well, that had kind of, that experience had a crappy result, but, I learned from it, right? Even if it puts you back, in the money range, even if it puts you back, maybe it really hurt you. Maybe you had a broken heart from it. But just remember that every experience that we go through does make you stronger. It does teach you something. And if you try to stay in that attitude, which you're very good at, because again, that's your strength, that's your superpower, is that you enjoy the journey. You enjoy the things that you learn along the way. Now, the journey card that you got love. I commit to the practice of seeing the good in all things. Oh my gosh, guys, tell me that's not a synchronicity. And then you got Treasure Island. And I love this card. And Treasure Island basically means that this is the explorer that found the island with the treasure on it, right? So it's basically just telling me that, you definitely, you've taken the road less traveled, right? And you have had highs and lows. You reached the top of the mountain. You've probably fallen down the mountain. And you've had some low times that really did feel like the world was beating you up, right? Like the woe is me. But if you are, I do think that you have a strong sense of gratefulness, gratitude in your heart. And you can see the colors almost look very similar. They're very, the two together. Anytime you are feeling low, if you commit to the practice of seeing good in all things, right? Unconditional love, as hard as that is, to both yourself and to others, you will reach that wonderful destination. You will reach Treasure Island. This is also a little bit of a Wheel of Fortune kind of card, which is telling me that it does also tell me that for as many struggles as you've had, a lot of things have come, like you have had a lot of good things in your life. That's the other thing that I'm getting from this, is that you've definitely gone on journeys and you've had a few bumps and bruises along the way, but you've always had what you needed to get by. And that's something to be very grateful for, right? And by staying in that sense of gratitude, you'll always, have good things coming your way. But wow, guys, that's your superpower, and that's really cool. I like that. All right, so moving right along, we got sock. And this is also another 1960s, I'm going with the 1960s Batman version of that meaning. There's, if you Google it, sock really isn't a word. It's more like "okay," like this is okay. But again, if you look at, like, it's kind of the same thing as BIFF, but just a little different. All right, so guys, you got your superpower. And hold on a minute. We got your superpower, your kryptonite, and if you hang on a second, I am not seeing your journey card. Hold on one moment. Okay, thanks guys for bearing with me. I thought that I had all my cards together, but I missed one. So, excellent. Okay, so we'll jump right into it. So for our sock pile, your superpower is the Fool. Which is fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. So, wow, guys, that's awesome. And what a better description for a word that really doesn't have a definition, right? You define yourself, right? You're not subject to any formal definitions, right? Excuse me, hiccup. But fearlessly revealing emotion and helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. So I definitely get a real comedian vibe off of this, and I mean that in a good way, because when you think about it, comedic actors or comedians, which are so rare nowadays, you still see some new ones that are really funny, but that's what they do. They poke fun. A lot of times comedy pokes fun at serious topics, but it does it to get us to lighten up, right? To laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. And it's true, the world gets absurd. The world gets hypocritical. Sometimes, and especially, nowadays, it really is, it's hard to laugh at things when things are so serious. But when you have that kind of personality, I do also get that maybe you are the class clown. You're the person that gets people to lighten up. The other thing that I kind of get from this as well is that with the two faces is that I do get the sense that you probably know how to laugh because you probably have seen a lot of hardship in your life. And you see that again also with comedians. Some of the funniest comedians have had a really, really hard life, and they just know how to lighten the mood by poking fun at the ridiculous, right? Now, your kryptonite, you got femme fatale. And the shadow attributes is inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money or power. So again, these are the two extremes. You're positive, your power from the yellow sun, and then your kryptonite. But maybe, what I'm kind of seeing there is inappropriate use of sensuality. Maybe you come on a little bit too strong. Again, anytime you are the comedian, anytime you know how to make people laugh, sometimes you are really exposed to the seedier things in life, and sometimes as you're lightening as you're bringing people's awareness to the funny of things, sometimes you might be exposing a little bit of that kind of underbelly, where people will actually look at you and be like, how do you know that? Right? Wow, he's joking about this. That's not something that I've ever heard of before, because you've seen it and you've experienced it. So that sometimes comes across as a little shadowy to people, not in a bad way, but that might kind of undermine you a little bit, because for as funny as you are, then you might kind of veer into the dark side, so to speak. And that might throw people off. That might make them feel like, okay, they're a little bit more, I do kind of get the feeling like they're a little bit more mafia than we expected, right? What was it? What is it in the Marvel universe? Iron Man was an arms dealer, right? But he's the snarky one. He's the sarcastic one. But sarcasm really takes a root in, real things. And sometimes you might come across a little too real for people. The other thing is that I do think that you have a very strong sexual side, and maybe you use your lighthearted side to really kind of get your way, possibly sexually, and that might come across as a little bit. And again, please don't incinerate the messenger. Don't hit me with your ray, your ray, your heat ray. But what it is that I had said it once in another pick a pile where. And this is no harm, no foul. I'm not trying to call anyone out, but this is just true feelings. This is what happens sometimes. Sometimes when you exude a lot of sexuality, and sometimes you don't even mean to, it's just kind of how you are. If you have any Scorpio in your chart, actually any water in your chart, a lot of Pisces kind of attract this kind of feeling too. Sometimes you're just too darn sensual for your own good. Like you're not even aware that you're kind of dipping into that side of yourself. And sometimes it might, and again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it might intimidate your friends or the people who are around you, just because, again, when you are the class clown, when you have that I'm getting charismatic is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the word charismatic. And what happens is it makes you a great person. It makes you real attractive. But sometimes, and I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes your friends might get intimidated, like, okay, well, I can't, if I'm interested in this guy or girl, I can't bring them around so-and-so because they'll steal, they'll kill my game, right? So that might be the kryptonite there. And I'm not saying to tone it down. Definitely with all these piles, don't dim to fit in. But if it is a matter of your friends feeling that way, you might want to tone it down a little bit. rein it in, you know? And the other thing is, this is your superpower, right? So, you know, even Clark Kent was probably pretty damn sexy with the glasses on, you know? Let's be real, just saying. But the other cards that you got is you got purpose. And I really love this card. This is probably one of my favorites. I know what I am here to do, right? I know what I'm here to do. And then the other card is you got breathe. Oh, I love that. And again, you know, I do read these cards again as the balance between the two, because these are very strong forces. All of these piles, this is a very strong positive force and a very strong negative force. Again, it's your power from the yellow sun and your kryptonite. So, you know, sometimes it might be telling you that it might even get a little overwhelming for you to balance, because I promise you, if you are curious, go ahead and Google some name. Like, think of a famous comedian that you've always thought, you know, that you think is hysterically funny. I can almost promise you that when you Google their biography, they had some kind of hardship in their life. Again, it's the two faces. It's the smiling face and the crying face, right? So it does make you adapt in certain ways, and it gives you that strength from having, you know, adapted to such hardship. So here, I do think the universe is telling you that sometimes you do have to breathe, because that's a lot of energy. That's hard. You know, that's not, you plunge through the depths and then you come back through with a levity that makes everybody laugh. And, you know, but then you're the person who's doing the laughing and the crying, right? You're the ones and I have heard that, you know, the person who's most charismatic, they probably, you know, they you know, what I'm hearing is that you entertain others, you lighten the load of others, but how often do you show your real self to someone? And then if your depths, your kryptonite, you know, intimidates people, that makes you even less inclined to want to open up, right? Which makes it a harder burden for yourself. So this is heavy energy. I'm definitely getting a heavier energy from this pile, but the universe is definitely telling you to breathe and take time out for yourself if you need it. You know, trust, you know, talk to the people that you trust most. Maybe you meditate, because again, the other vibe that I get is that I do get a kind of an extreme, like maybe you shift gears really quickly. That might be one of the other kryptonite kind of things, is that maybe one minute you really are cracking jokes, and then the next minute you are getting kind of dark, and people are like, whoa, that was a quick shift. And it's not intentional. It's just, that's, you know, that's the byproduct of this, right? But I do think this is a very encouraging, because it says, I know what I'm here to do. So I definitely get the feeling that you know your purpose, right? You know your purpose. You might have to breathe through it, just like an athlete, just like a superhero, you know. You might need to take, you know, tag someone else and tag out for a little while, you know, maybe when you're done doing your superhero thing, you know, you can take a breather and then get back to it, and definitely keep yourself balanced. But I do think that's a beautiful card, because it does say it's very much under the Fool. You know your purpose, right? You know how to use your superhero ability to help others. All right, guys, that's really cool. I like that pile. All right, so let's keep on going. We got BAM. The BAM. I really do love these. And they're stickers. I can use them. This is so great. It has backing right now, but okay, so my BAM people, what is your superpower? So let's see here. We got Gambler. And then what's your kryptonite? We got Warrior. Wow, we got a lot of similar colors. And let's go ahead and see. We got Courage. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Courage. And No Place Like Home. Oh, I really love this. This is great energy, guys. So your superpower, my BAM people, ba-bam. You got Gambler, which is willingness to follow intuition, even when others doubt you. Oh, I like that. That is like ba-bam. That's like drop the mic, like, okay, Elvis has left the building. Now your kryptonite, you got Warrior. Trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. All right. So immediately, right off the cuff, what I'm getting is that definitely you are not affected by the opinions of others. And that is a superpower, guys, because in this day and age, and especially with the advent of social media, we are all like up in each other's business. Like I always said, when I was in high school, I went to high school a while ago, and it was never around the world in 30 texts. If you did something stupid, you had at least until lunch before the rest of the world knew about it, and it was like telephone, one person telling another, right? But here, you trust your gut instinct, right? Your internal compass is what directs your actions, and that is a rare thing. That's a rare thing. You're not going to go with what, the status quo. You're not going to go with what the reality television people are doing. You go with you, right? Now, and that's a wonderful thing, because you if anything, you're a really good leader with that too, because you go with your own gut instinct. The other thing that I'm kind of getting from this is that I'm getting the fact that you have just kind of like a high priestess kind of feeling, is that you might, the other thing is that this is pile 5, and the number 5 kind of means change. And oh, look, you got 50, card 50, 50. But so yeah, so the other thing that I get is that you're very adaptable. Like change does not, it isn't so much that change isn't scary, is that you don't let external factors impact your internal compass, right? You roll with the punches, so to speak. And I also get a feeling that there are some people that just have a good perception of the future. Like you can see, almost like a chess game, you can see the events happening now and where they're going to lead. I think you're real good at predicting the possible outcome, which is a gambling thing, right? You're predicting, okay, who has the royal flush, who has all the queens, who has the kings, and I think that you can kind of see by your own hand what the variables would be for the future. So you have a very good gut instinct of how things might turn out. Now, the kryptonite of that is that, trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. Now, I do think that this, again, all of these strengths and weaknesses, they seem to be parallels of each other. And the parallel that I see here is that sometimes when it's you against the world, sometimes the negative of it is that it's you against the world, right? You'll think, okay, well, that they're the sheep and I'm not. But, if the sheep are suffering, you're just like, well, they're not me. And it isn't that you're putting your own self above the others. It's just because you do not have the same stake, you don't have the same perception as everyone else, or maybe you're able to keep yourself separate from the greater, influences. You sometimes that might make you a little numb or detached from the pain that's occurring with the collective. And it isn't, and I don't think that you're isolated by any means, but I think I'm seeing sheep. I'm thinking sheep, like, okay, well, everyone else just follows the crowd. But the problem is if and even in world events right now, the crowd isn't separate. We're all in this together. And even though you might be, predicting how to survive or predicting how to do things, there might be other people who don't have the foresight that you have, that really might be affected by this. And the fact that it says warrior, I do think that you're very agile. I think you're a survivor. And I think you use your instinct to survive. Again, this person's blindfolded and they're managing just fine, right? So I do think that your instinct doesn't lead you wrong, but sometimes a warrior attribute is, well, I'm going to push through this at any cost, and it's just me. I'm just going to push me through this. But what if your instinct could serve others? What if there is a group of people who are suffering, and you do want to help them? You don't want it to just be you don't want to be indifferent to that just because you have a different perception. Now, the card that you got is you got courage. And wow, guys, in a superhero reading, you got courage. And I always say the Latin root of the word courage is cor, which means heart. And I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. And look at this, guys. I mean, face fear with confidence. And look at the purples and the blindfold. I think that the other vibe that I'm getting from this, and especially with warrior, is that, have you ever talked to persons? I come from a very military family, and also I wonder sometimes if that hasn't impacted me a little bit, because when you're raised in a military family, you do kind of see things a little bit differently. You do kind of see it in a little bit of a soldier mindset. The other thing that I'm getting is that maybe you're really brave. Like, you're not afraid to face things. Like, I can even put it in a modern, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to put it in a modern context. The virus that we're facing right now. We get alerts in the news. We hear about the statistics, how it's spread, what you need to do. You need to wear masks. You need to wash your hands. And your instinct is like, okay, I can see this coming. I'm going to manage this. I am not afraid. When I go to the grocery store, I'm going to put on the mask. I'm going to do the decontamination when I get home. But that's a warrior mindset. That's like you saying, okay, well, it is just me and this is my routine. And just like a warrior, you know the drill. You know the drill, and you go through the drill, and you trust your instincts on how to navigate this very scary situation, like a soldier. But there's a lot of people out there who aren't in a military mindset, who are terrified. There are people who have really strong anxiety that cannot go to the grocery store because they're afraid. They're afraid to touch the mask. They're afraid to put gloves on. It's kind of like thinking, okay, that group, a person is not weak because they have anxiety in the middle of a pandemic, right? But they're different from you. They're not as strong. They might not have the same fortitude that you have and the same foresight. So, before you just write them off as being, okay, well, you're being silly, you're not handling this right way. What if you could, the kryptonite of that is that if there was a way that you could share your individuality, at a 6 foot distance and really, kind of share that where you are influencing people, but it is your kryptonite. You're good at being alone. You're good at doing it by yourself. You're a good soldier, right? You're a good soldier, and you're very brave, right? You face fear with confidence, right? Even when you're feeling anxiety. And the last card that you got is There's No Place Like Home. And gosh, guys, this really, first off, I'm getting a lot of purples. There's a lot of purples in this. And the colors encourage and No Place Like Home. And look at that, the golds and the yellows. But again, I think that you are very self-sufficient, because No Place Like Home is that finding your home at the center. Like, no matter where you go, when you come back home, the home is you. And home is wherever you are, is kind of what this card means. So I do think that it being under warrior, I do think that you have this ability to share this insight with others. You do kind of have to be delicate with it, because you do go against the grain, right? The way you do things is not going to be readily accepted by the masses, but you are able to manage conflict very well, and you see where things are going. You're good at predicting. And I do think that you have an individualism about you, and that is your superpower. You're an individual. You're a free thinker, and you trust your instincts. And wherever home is, wherever you are is home. And that is definitely that's your superpower. Wow, guys, that was really cool. I like that reading. I really like that. And that's interesting. I kind of like the kryptonite side of things, because it does. There's always shadow and light. All right, our last pile. Boom. Boom. Let me go ahead. I'll turn up the bass. Okay, you ready? You ready? Boom. All right. I am loving this new microphone. I hope you can hear it. But okay, my boom people. My boom people, what is your superpower? You got vampire. Oh my gosh. Is this my blade pile? My blade people. All right, and then we got the kryptonite is saboteur. Oh my gosh, these are powerful cards. And then let's go ahead and see. We got pride. And then we got to the sea. Oh, I love this card. Gosh, guys, to the sea. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Your superpower. You got vampire. And the light attribute is makes you aware that someone or something is draining your life force. So wow, guys, and that is, again, all of these are strong strengths, right? Now, so aware that someone is draining your life force. You've seen in life, my grandmother used to always say, she's like, there's street smarts and there are book smarts, right? There's book smart people and there's street smart people. And she used to always say, in this life, you need a little bit of both. You need a nice mixture of both, because you can go to school and you can learn all the book knowledge, but if you get out into the world and you don't have any layman's terms kind of understanding, you're not going to get far. Right? And then the same thing in reverse. Maybe you've had, no formal learning and you just kind of learn from, your environment. You learn from the real world, and maybe you've gotten your PhD from the School of Hard Knocks, right? And that develops you in a different way, but it's a nice blend of the two. Now, I really think the vampire positive attribute is kind of like that. You are smart where like you've probably been through the School of Hard Knocks a little bit. I'm seeing the Nine of Wands in my head. And actually we Nine of Wands just today. Oh, what a segue, guys. Okay, not to promote myself, but if you get a chance, check out Nine of Wands. We just posted that this morning. But Nine of Wands is that kind of, I have been through the war, right? And it is a little bit of a street smart card, because when you think about it, it's like, okay, what if through your life, someone tried to con you? Someone has tried to get something over on you, right? You are very well versed in recognizing those people, right? The soul-sucking people, right? And maybe I'm really getting the feeling it's because you've probably been through a few of those relationships, or you've been through a few of those encounters where you have, the other thing that I'm getting is that you have a lot of light to give. And in psychology, they talk a lot about that, where there's dynamics. If somebody's very giving, sometimes you'll attract the opposite, which is someone who likes to take, right? And there's a lot of articles that talk about this type of, those kind of negative cycles. But here, I do think that you have gotten, and again, this is your superpower, is that I think your superpower is that I really get the feeling that you can spot BS from a mile off. You can see someone who wants to drain you, and you don't have the time, you don't have the energy to give to them, and you're like, no. Just, swipe left. No, thank you. Bye-bye now. If someone is trying to either, drain you, take advantage of you, waste your time, you have no inclination, and you can spot them and cut these people off right away. So that is your superpower. That's something that you're very good at. I also think that you're very good at managing those kind of types. And again, unfortunately, it's probably because you've probably had some experience, maybe some bad experiences with it in the past. But basically, you don't have time for it, right? You're not, that's the other thing that I've seen though, in life. You've ever come across someone who's just naturally kind of pessimistic? We refer to them as the Debbie Downers of the world, right? And what it is that when you get around someone, after if you engage with this person, it really just feels like it is like draining a battery. It's like, you know, and the best way to get past those type of people, if you do have to encounter them, is to keep things on track. That's the other vibe that I'm getting, is that you keep people on track. If you do have to have an encounter with someone who's, you know, draining your energy, you're like, they'll be like, well, what about this? What about that? No, back on track. Okay, you know, we're going to get done what we need to get done, and then I am stepping away from you, because it's almost like, you know, like a energy shield of, you know, I'm not going to let you steal my thunder. I'm not going to let you take away my energy. Now, the kryptonite side of this, the kryptonite side is that you got saboteur. You got saboteur, and you see somebody, the images of somebody in an air balloon, right? And the shadow attribute is induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. So, and again, I am really amazed at how the parallels, all of the piles have had a good, and again, this is, you know, the strength and the, you know, the disadvantages, which really do mirror one another. Now, you know, what's standing out to me in that description is either self-destructive behavior or undermining others. So I get kind of two things. The first thing that you can see about that, is it being your kryptonite, is that if you are quick to analyze whether or not someone is going to be a waste of your time, sometimes you might be quick to cut off relationships that, you know, again, if you might come across someone who at first glance might seem like they're not giving you what you want, or might be a waste of your time. And if you are quick to cut them off, you might be hurting yourself, because it might have been a legitimate relationship, or at least something that would have taught you something. By having that experience, by giving that person just a little bit of your time, you know, they don't judge. I'm getting kind of a don't judge a book by its cover kind of feeling, where you might be quick to cut someone off, or to you know, break down a relationship before it even gets a chance to get started. Because sometimes first impressions are not always most accurate. Maybe you went on a first date that wasn't the greatest, but you didn't give it to the second date to see, you know, whether or not, you know, maybe the person had a hard day, maybe they were nervous, maybe they thought you were really pretty and they just, you know, the words were coming out wrong. And then you think, oh, okay, that person's a soul sucker, I don't want to do anything. And it you know, you end up harming yourself by not allowing someone in. Now, the other thing that you get too is that sometimes you might, in that same vein, you might falsely, like maybe you are defensive. Like, again, I do get the feeling like maybe you've had other relationships in your past that really took a lot from you or took advantage of you. So maybe now that has made you defensive and afraid. I do kind of get this person is like all bundled up. They're looking like, okay, you know, they're looking very kind of covertly over their shoulder. That also is kind of a self-sabotaging thing, where you might be so terrified of being hurt again that you do not want to risk it, and you might be tearing yourself down. You might not be, you know, you're putting walls up so high that nobody can get in, and it might be something that you really need. Now, the other thing that I get is that it did say the desire to undermine others, and excuse me, hiccup. I don't think any of these piles would ever intentionally undermine others. But the other thing that I kind of get there too is that, again, you know, by perception of someone, maybe it does kind of, the other thing that I'm seeing here is I'm getting the expression, you know, take the air out of someone's balloon. Maybe someone really was gearing up the courage to talk to you, and by you having those wounds, and you keeping people at an arm's length, it might deflate others. Like it might inadvertently, and I don't think it's intentional at all. Again, you know, you're trying to do the right thing by you. You do not want to have any more vampires in your life. But by doing that, sometimes you might legitimately, accidentally, tear down someone else's esteem and make them feel like they're not worthy. And that's, again, unintentional, but that would be the kryptonite of this situation. Now, the card that you got is you got Pride. And it's, I love myself and I see myself in everyone, right? So that's the other thing that I see here, guys, is that that's a real powerful influence, because pride is a good thing. I love myself and I see myself in everyone. So I'm almost thinking that this is giving you kind of a solution to this. If you have had a few situations where you weren't sure if someone was going to come in and hurt you, and you're trying not to sabotage, it is kind of telling you, like, try to see yourself in other people. It's definitely good to love yourself. It's definitely good to protect yourself. Boundaries are not a bad thing, especially if you've had some users in the past. I mean, if you've been through any type of a user situation, I am so sorry, because honestly, those are the worst. Those are the worst. It makes you feel victimized. It makes you feel like, it makes you, just like we said, street smarts at University of Real World. It makes you feel like you were duped. And you're like, I'm never letting that happen to me again. But it is completely okay to protect yourself, to be your own defender. But maybe one solution and one way to help get the perspective straight is to say, well, what do they always say too? Innocent until proven guilty. So you might want to give people a little bit of a wide berth. Try to view other people the way that you would treat yourself. Like, say, okay, maybe this other person has had hard relationships in their life too. How would I treat me if I were approaching someone that I really liked? How would I want to be responded to? It is a little bit of the golden rule, treat yourself the way that you want to be treated. But here it definitely says, see yourself in everyone. So that might help you navigate a little bit. And but I also just want to note, I don't think your perception is wrong. I'm not saying that, the way that you see things is not correct. It's just, I am definitely getting a very guarded, very guarded, and rightly so. If you've had experiences that have hurt you, there's a good reason for that. But it is trying to just say, to kind of have a balance with it. Now, the last card that you got is card number 7. You got To the Sea, and this is such card. And it is interesting because I do see that you see the girl in the boat, and you see how she's looking down, and she's got binoculars, right? And there's this face in the sky looking over her, right? And this card in the book really talks about going with the flow, right? It's called going with the flow. And it does want you to know that you are being looked after. I do think, and I am going to get a little woo-woo with this one. All the other ones I stuck with the superpower, but I do think that you have had some hard experiences in your life, and I think the universe knows that, and it's looking out for you. I think it's really not trying to put you through any more of this, like any more of the soul-sucking, life draining. You're not, you have a certain quota for that, and definitely if you've come even close to exceeding that quota, then that's too much. But I do think that it's just kind of telling you to go with the flow. Go with the flow, kind of trust a little bit. Again, see yourself in everyone, and just know. I think it's also kind of telling you that know that not everyone you meet is going to be like these persons that did you dirty, right? Not everyone is going to be like that, and that's very hard to learn again when you've had your trust and your faith, when you've been taken advantage of. That's not easy to get over, that's not easy to bounce back from. But I do think that you have a lot of energy, in the positive energy around you. And I always like to think of it too. It's funny. I always like to think, and I like this, the way it says, I love myself. I always think that anytime I'm feeling like that, when I'm feeling defensive, I always think, I'm here to protect myself. You are never alone. You always have a protector, and that protector is you, right? even if, I know a lot of us have family members, we have other people who are looking out for our best interests, but even when you are all alone, you are protected. You are protected by, the universe, and you are protected by yourself. And if you ever question that, I think this is a good time to just kind of sit yourself down and say, nothing can happen to me that I will not, that I will, nothing bad will happen to me that I will allow, right? You are, you are the vampire slayer, right? There you go. Maybe this is my Buffy pile. But you will protect yourself. You will defend yourself from anyone. And even if you don't see it right away, you're not going to let it get too far. Just trust in that, and trust that, everything will be okay. And maybe open up a little bit, don't shoot anybody down too quickly. Just kind of let it progress and see where it goes, and, go with the flow. But wow, guys, that's a very positive superpower. I like that too. All right. Well, that was another really great pick a pile. I hope you liked the theme. Again, we had 2 videos today. We posted the How to Tarot and the 9 of Wands, and then we have our superhero read. If you enjoyed this, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, or subscribe. I will be doing more national days as we go forward. I hope I can pull out the tablecloth again soon. If you have any ideas for reads that you would like me to do, please feel free to leave a comment. You do not need to be a subscriber to do that. And again, I hope everyone is staying safe and staying well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.